Hey Al.
Hey Joe.
Um, so the first order of the day, I guess, is BlizzCon,
Hmm.
and what Blizzard's future plans are, games they showed off, and generally, what we feel about Blizzard. Blizzard were one of my favorite games developers.
Yeah.
I've been following them before they kind of got together with Activision, let's say.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And they were one of the first software developers that I heard use the term "it's ready when it's ready." Whether that sort of kind of mindset exists any longer, I don't know. But I mean, it's
I don't know. They've been sticking to their guns with Blizzard. Yeah. My history with them starts actually in a really weird state. I think I started on the PlayStation, um, with Diablo 1 actually, and then Warcraft 3. And then as soon as Diablo 2 was due, I think I then shifted it across to PC. And that was really, really good. Sunk so many hours into Diablo 2 and the expansion.
I mean, I definitely dabbled in Diablo 2, but I think my Blizzard moment, quote unquote, was basically Warcraft 3.
Mm,
And it was, and my experience with Blizzard at the time was exclusively on PC.
yeah.
I must have completed the campaign on Warcraft 3
Mm.
plus the expansion Frozen Throne multiple times really. Also spent a lot of time using their map editor,
Oh
which
yeah,
at the
yeah, yeah,
time, yeah, I thought, wow, this is pretty powerful for what it was.
yeah.
So that was my earliest memory of Blizzard. Equally, the art, the type of universes they created, the worlds, the characters. But to be fair, I mean, you look at Warcraft and Starcraft,
Mm.
it's a bit of a rip-off of the Warhammer
Oh
kind of
yeah, yeah, yeah.
universe, really. What Games Workshop own.
Yeah, but you could argue all of it stems from a combination of The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings. There's a whole bunch of all at the same time, kind of ripping each other off to an extent.
Yeah, kind of true, but I mean, I'd have to look at the history of it to see what actually happened. I mean, there are so many similarities and overlaps. You kind of think it can't be just chance. You know
Yeah,
what I
it's
mean?
it's
Like,
orc with a C or an orc with a K.
yeah, exactly. But yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, Blizzard, games developer with a long, illustrious history,
yeah.
much loved IP. And obviously they recently did BlizzCon, obviously a virtual event.
Mm,
And from what I could see, it seemed to be front and center, really, Diablo 2
yeah,
remastered game.
yeah,
I think they call it Resurrection, right?
yeah. Something like that, resurrected or something, and it would be. Well, I think the interesting thing is it's only just been shown, and it's going to be in 2021. So if that's late this year, I think great. Does that give a year and a half before Diablo 4? We don't know if that's
Mm.
Diablo 4 is going to be 24, 23. It probably needs a bit of time, I think, with Diablo 2. It's one of those games I can see myself sinking a lot of time into.
Yeah,
Um,
most definitely, really. I
yeah.
mean, and you're right about Diablo 4. I don't know when it's due out.
Mm,
Be sort of surprised if it came out this year.
yeah.
I mean, I think it feels like a 2022 thing. I don't think they've actually given it a date yet either, if I
Yeah.
remember rightly.
There's just been a few trailers. There's a bit of hype around it.
Yeah,
At least on last BlizzCon, I think it was, where they kind of showed it.
yeah. I mean, I do like the look of the Diablo 2 remaster. It's very, I mean, in my mind, it's very distinct from Diablo 3.
Mm,
And my memory of D2 is basically hazy at best. But when I kind of looked at the remaster and obviously the original footage, I thought, wow, it's the art style is different, the
mm.
mood is really different. I mean,
Well, they're doing like you know how EA did with Command and Conquer, the remastered one.
mm,
There's basically a
yeah,
switch where you can change it from the original sort of quality of graphics straight into the brand new one. So there's like you can basically, I think you can do it real time on the fly. You can just change it,
yeah, which
similar
is which
to
is
Command
good.
and Conquer. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, there's still a lot of players who actually still play D2, as much as
Mm,
I know.
mm,
Maybe I won't want it. I might use a feature like that for maybe all of kind of a week.
mm.
Then beyond that, I'm probably not even going to touch it. But I'm sure there are players out there who still playing D2.
Yeah.
Who maybe want to fall back to to the original look and
What
feel.
Yeah, and there's also some quality of life improvements as well. I think they showed the things around the stash and a shared stash, because I remember very distinctly using lots of additional characters, or mules as they called it, just to store items. And
Interesting.
you'd have to gamble. So basically, you'd have to go into a room with your main character, go find a spot that only you know where you're going to go to, drop a load of items, and then go and collect it from that same spot with your other character.
Uh, Basically, an inventory workaround.
Yeah, by using
Yeah.
your character's personal stash. But yeah, doing those quality of life things, which would be great. And I could definitely see myself playing quite a lot of it, especially with my
Yeah.
brother as well. So,
I mean, I think the art style is very different as well.
mm,
I mean, that's one thing I took away from the video I saw in BlizzCon.
yeah,
I mean, say what you say about Diablo 3. Diablo 3, colourful and fast paced, not very moody, not very dark, if you know what I mean.
yeah.
Diablo 2 felt a lot darker overtones.
And Diablo 3 is an interesting one where it was, I don't know, it was okay at the start. Then they had the whole controversy with the auction house.
Mm,
Then they fixed it.
yeah,
And then the drop started to be pretty good from I think it's the legendary items were then corrected,
yeah,
because
yeah.
I think it was the yellow rare items which were more powerful than the legendary items or something. And then they created that whole rift system and sort of ancient level items as well, which kept people going for ages. It kept me going back to
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I love Diablo 3. I mean, like you, Al, I've sunk a lot of hours into it.
Mm.
We built a lot of characters. It's a weird one, isn't it? You effectively, the whole game is just about your build.
Yeah, yeah,
And you just grind away at the same level over and over again. And that's pretty much it. You know what I mean? But,
yeah.
yeah, it just keeps you hooked.
And the
No
seasonal
doubt
the
about that.
seasonal aspects were pretty good. I think they
Yeah.
actually did force you to recreate a brand new character, forced you to do something again, with some new additional special things per season. So that was quite nice. But yeah, I think my only worry about Diablo 2, and it's just probably not much of a worry because I think the developers are different. But I guess the Warcraft 3 remaster, they did screw that up. Yeah, there's a lot of backlash on that one. And I think they've wound down the team that's looking after it now. So it's really, there's still things that needs fixing, but it won't get fixed now. I think the current
Oh, that's a
situation. Yeah, because
shame.
Warcraft 3 was such a fundamental game.
Yeah.
Also, I guess one of the other big kind of things with it was the whole the custom maps had a lot of restrictions. Back in the day, you could create almost any third-party map. Didn't matter if it had, it was based on Mario, it was based on some other particular theme. You would probably be okay because it wasn't either wasn't as visible, wasn't as popular, there wasn't as many copyright strikes, that sort of thing that's visible. Nowadays, with YouTube, Twitch, and everything, there's all this sort of DMCA copyright striking, that sort of stuff, which has restricted I guess the some of the good sides of Warcraft 3 and the mods and the custom maps that was
Yeah,
in there.
I mean, didn't Dota start from a
Yeah,
Warcraft
yeah,
3
yeah.
kind of like custom map, right? So,
Yeah, that was it.
yeah,
That's right. I used to play Dota 1,
yeah,
enjoyed it a lot in Warcraft 3. That was actually, I probably didn't even play most of the main sort of competitive scene with it. I just played Dota most of the time. So
yeah. It was
just logging
called,
onto the
it was
custom
called
map.
something else though, wasn't it? It was called something of the Ancients or something.
Well, no, it was the same thing. So it's just Defense of the Ancients.
Ah, right, right. Oh no,
So it's
it's
the
the same
same
thing,
one.
of course, of course.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then eventually, when Dota 2 came out, I guess Valve took the rights with IceFrog and then did a deal with Blizzard to split the two sides, because I think
Yeah,
Blizzard
yeah.
then did Heroes of the Storm as well,
Yeah,
another
yeah,
MOBA
that's
kind of
right.
game.
Yeah, there's a lot to kind of thank Warcraft 3 for.
Mm,
I mean, it's a shame to hear, right, that team that did the kind of remasters being wound down.
mm,
For a time, I mean, the Warcraft 3 remaster was something that I was thinking, yeah, I'm
yeah,
definitely get a hold of that and basically sink some time into it and just, replay the campaign and whatnot
mm,
with the kind of improved visuals and all of that sort of thing.
yeah,
But if they wound it down, they're not going to fix some of these issues. I don't know that I'll ever touch it.
yeah.
Which is a shame, really. It's a game that deserves some, love and attention, if you ask me.
Yeah. But I don't know, I think they've got a chance with Diablo 2, I think, to redeem themselves as Blizzard as an organization around it, I think.
Yeah.
The other thing they showed was Overwatch 2, which I'm not. I did play a lot of Overwatch when it first came out, but I've just gone it went very stale on me. I think after they started releasing too many characters, I think was the problem. Was that the pace at which they released new characters and the rebalancing and the readjustment to the characters wasn't quite right for me. So basically, the seasonal aspect, the new characters that kept coming along, and they were free, just wasn't the right pace for me. So I kind of gave up after a few of the ranked competitive kind of seasons. I kind of gave up after the second and third one.
Yeah, I'm not an Overwatch player. I mean, I did follow it before it came out because obviously at the time, right, there was a big, what do they call it? The subgenre was kind of hero shooters. Yeah, at the time.
Yeah.
And there was Overwatch, and then there was the other one. I think Gearbox were doing because Battleborn.
Yeah, there was quite a few of them, weren't there? Yeah, there was.
Yeah,
and there was that. There was that one game that got quite popular and then suddenly shut down. As well, but I guess everything that was kind of squads based kind of things. I think PUBG just suddenly killed that whole market as well for quite some time as it kind of grew in popularity. And then Apex Legends out of nowhere, and I think they just literally killed most of the sort of squad based PvP kind of market.
Going back to Overwatch, I kind of decided to choose a kind of like hero shooter, and I actually picked Battleborn. So I probably kind of like banked on the wrong thing. But it's interesting about Overwatch because your point on too many characters? Is it just the effort it takes to master each character, or is it like a Diablo 3
it's
where
a
you
combination
build
of things? Yeah. So with the characters, they were quite unique, and it got to a point. I think on the first season when I was playing it quite a lot, that the meta, so basically the style, the best characters were kind of known. And what would happen is that people would choose a really good balanced team. And actually, I remember Overwatch suggests you to pick a character. So, obviously there's the tanks, the healers, the DPSs. There's a whole bunch of blend of characters, and it suggests, things for you to go to. And obviously, people in ranked generally tried to follow it, because you're trying to win. But as the meta kind of shifted, you had new characters. You would really struggle in ranked, whereby a lot of the players wouldn't get the new meta, and it would take so long for them to readjust, and you just go through pain of, I don't know, weeks and weeks of pain for people to rebalance what's going on, and just kind of waiting for good kind of quality of game, or at least quality of match, which is it just becomes more painful as you're playing it, because you had a good base, you're having a kind of good sessions, good games, and then the whole thing just gets reset.
Interesting. Sounds a bit jarring.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem. So, a brand new character would come in, and people were still experimenting with them. I think it's good on one side, where you've got something new to play with, but then I think if it fundamentally changes the game, and they've not really balanced it, then everyone's just playing. Or the fact that you go into a game, and there's always this brand new character, even though it's rubbish. So they would just play it just because it's a new character, rather than actually trying to win the game.
Interesting. So the level of experimentation in-game, actually.
Yeah, and actually, if you're experimenting, surely you shouldn't be doing it in ranked. It just feels really weird but people would do it. So it just wasn't a great situation to be in.
Interesting. Yeah. The other thing they showed was obviously World of Warcraft. I mean, I don't know how that's doing. At one point that was the game, wasn't it? That was a huge money maker. Probably one of the reasons Activision decided to kind of buy kind of like Blizzard. Weren't you?
I sunk 4 years into that game.
You were a bit of a World of Warcraft player at the time, weren't you?
Yeah, Vanilla, Burning Crusade, and I think I did one more expansion, and I kind of gave up because it just became literally a second job.
Yeah, I heard that about it.
So much effort.
I mean, ironically, right? I mean, I followed that game as it was being developed right through to launch, right? And I made a conscious decision that I was never going to play it. And it wasn't even the subscription model that put me off at the time. It was more about, like you said, it was the amount of hours you need to sink into the game. And I thought, there's just no way I could kind of give anything like that the kind of time investment it needed.
I think it was. I remember it just when it came out. I think I was still in uni at the time, in my last year, and I avoided it because I knew I would get addicted and I would sink too much time into it. So I managed to join onto it afterwards. So I joined late into the sort of the main game. But I think I quickly kind of caught up, kind of to where it was going, and eventually it got I was pretty good with the game. I was pretty good at organizing the people. So I ended up doing raid leading, guild leading, and all that sort of stuff. But it was so much effort. It was managing people's time, arranging people to come join at a specific time to go and do things. I'd have to spend time going to read up strategies and other things and doing lots of prep work just to get it going. Yeah.
Sounds like a project management job. Program management or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's interesting is that, I mean, and this is not a new thing, but they actually are offering the classic version.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not sure if that's the classic version of Warcraft, warts and all, or if that's just basically here's the world as it was.
Yeah. They followed the same release cycle or something as well, or at least the versions anyway. They basically put a pretty stable vanilla version, and then they slowly started releasing the content bit by bit. And I think they've already talked about doing the next expansion, which is the Burning Crusade, for that vanilla classic kind of servers and things like that. I think a lot of people still hold on to the original because of the size, really, because basically the raids back in the original were 40 people. You'd have to arrange basically 8 groups of 5 because you can only have them in groups of 5. You'd have to structure them in tanks, healers, damage. It was a lot of work logistically managing that stuff, but we were, we had the tools. We had like TeamSpeak.
Interesting. And
I think Ventrilo and other things at the time that we were kind of using to kind of arrange things. And and actually I think World of Warcraft had a really good optionality to create additional tools and overlays on top of the game. So there's a lot of custom add-ons with damage meters, guild, raid kind of assistance things which pops alerts. So there's some really useful tools that helped actually make the game even better. And I think most of that has actually been started to slowly be built into World of Warcraft itself now.
Why do you think they brought back the classic though? I mean, is it?
I think because again, the original had 40. The original, it started to get, I guess, easier and easier to an extent, or the group started to become smaller. So what happened was, I think by the time I'd left, joined back, I think the sort of main raids were in the sizes of 25 was the biggest, or 20 was the biggest, or something. And I think people just found it too much easier than it was before. So it was more that they probably lined it to a casual market. And what happened is that I guess the old school hardcore World of Warcraft kind of people were saying, it just doesn't tick the boxes for me anymore. So
player retention then. That's how it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
I also heard that at some point there was an unofficial group who actually offered servers who...
That's right, private servers. That basically hosted these in its original form, which a lot of people enjoyed playing as well.
I wonder if that had some bearing on Blizzard's decision, though, to offer it.
Maybe. I can't remember if they shut them all down as well at the same time.
I think they did. I can't imagine someone like Activision would have tolerated that. You know what I mean? Like they would have kind of like wanted to shut those guys down. I mean, any kind of like a redistribution of kind of like revenue would have been kind of unacceptable.
Yeah.
Interesting. I tell you, going back to the Diablo, I think one thing that I got from the actual BlizzCon talks, they're actually building a rendering engine on top of the original code of D2.
Yeah.
So it's not a completely new game, but certainly the visuals are being reworked. It sounded, hugely complex to basically build a 3D rendering engine on top of game logic that was built to work with, 2D sprites.
Yeah, especially with the game engine and the tick of your damage. And I think they were showing the grid system as well, actually, that was quite interesting. Kind of looking through all that stuff. And how it's going to work with something, let's assume the game engine does run on 30 frames or 30 ticks. And if it's running on 60, what is that going to do, and how is that going to make the kind of visuals of where you're actually standing, or your position of your character, and the other sort of enemy characters, where they're going to sit. It'd be interesting to see if they can actually make it work. But yeah, I think Diablo 2, I'm definitely looking forward to.
Yeah, I think I'm looking to kind of play that actually, just to kind of relive D2. And again, I know it's not the same game as D3.
Yeah.
And certainly by the time we got to D3, it was all about those seasons, really. And we used to kind of invest all sorts of hours into it.
Yeah.
And the campaign didn't really kind of last that long for me.
I'm interested to see if... So a lot of... If you're really into your Diablo 2, basically the end game basically revolved around either having a sorceress or a paladin with teleportation, and being able to do Mephisto runs, Baal runs extremely quickly. So I'm wondering if there's going to be a massive skew towards particular characters on release, because I'm pretty certain I'm going to go with a sorceress as well straight away, just because of the teleportation.
Yeah, the way that it sounded to me is the mechanics will be very similar, obviously, but they are trying to kind of address some of the warts.
Yeah,
because they're carrying over a lot of the imperfections. Because some of these imperfections are what really people remember about the game.
Yeah.
But there's certain things that maybe at the time the community kind of wanted addressed, but it was never addressed, that they may address.
Yeah.
But someone who knows Diablo 2 better than I do would be able to comment a little bit more on that. But that's the gist of what I got from the development team.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if they bring in stuff like something that I would like to see is the rifts. The rift system I thought was actually pretty good in Diablo 3, because it actually forced you to actually create team compilations, where there's compositions, whereas Diablo 2, you were pretty much just kind of going on your own, rushing to bosses, killing the boss, and and the classic, I'm going to be the best, clicker in the world to pick up the item quicker than anyone else.
Oh my gosh, game design's not changed much then.
Yeah, but Diablo 3, they changed that, right? So Diablo 3 was everyone had their own drop pool. But
true.
Diablo 2 was hilarious for basically being the best left clicker. Or some kind of script just to, pick items up.
Interesting. I haven't really been religiously following Blizzard for a while now. I mean, do we think Blizzard are the same company they were, let's say, 10 years ago? Because obviously there was that whole controversy with, what was it, Diablo Immortal being a mobile game, and they're doing more kind of fan lip service now with the classic versions of certain IPs they have, and I think they're doing it with more than actual World of Warcraft. I can't remember the other game they were.
Well, there was the Dota-like thing, the Heroes of the Storm, which...
That's it, Heroes of the Storm.
I actually played that quite a bit. That was actually quite good fun. And actually it's still relatively well supported. Even though they wound back the esports scene, the funding to competitions and other things, and then the cadence of release cycles, but they've kept up with releasing heroes and stuff, as a, like you say, a fan service.
There's a classic version of that coming out now. So I mean, it just feels like something they're planning to do more and more of. Well, depending on the game and the community for that said game. But, do we think it's the same Blizzard that was there 10 years ago? Is it somewhat different?
Yeah, probably not, right? I think a lot of the teams have moved. A lot of the key people have kind of moved.
Yeah. I'm not sure that, obviously, like you, I'm not sure they're the same company. I think being tied to a publisher like Activision, no matter what you say, their culture's going to superimpose onto your culture. There'll be different sorts of pressures in that sort of thing. Yeah, for sure. Different priorities, different standards, different all sorts of stuff. Yeah. To a degree, I think they're still trying to look after the IP they've got. That's definitely a good thing. And D2, I think D3 is still going strong. Yeah. We haven't even talked about Diablo 4. That looks like something that I'll play as soon as it comes out. Yeah. They're a developer who is still really churning out the kind of games we want to play, if not anything else, that's for sure, and looking after their own IP, so I guess we can't complain too much. Yeah, apart from maybe the last few years, they've been relatively good at what they've been doing, and fixing Diablo 3, I think, was very important to get done, but yeah, it's a bit of a shame with Warcraft 3 Remastered and the whole Diablo Immortal thing, although actually, it's not actually that bad a game, it's just that
of all places to announce it at BlizzCon when everyone is expecting Diablo 4 was not was not really great. Especially to selling to a PC market.
Yeah, it's a bit of a PR misstep. It's not a terrible thing for Blizzard to do. It's just that the timing, the location, it was a bit of a misstep, really.
Yeah, because I think I think Diablo Immortal, the ones I've been looking at, is looking really good. And actually, I think it'll sell and play pretty well on a mobile phone.
Looks like it's D3 based, right?
Yeah, it's just essentially D3 but on mobile, and runs pretty nice. So
I have to say it's a good fit. You know, to be honest.
Yep.
Okay, with that said, let's move on to our next topic.